and welcome to day 12 of the course in mastery. Today, Tom Wood is going to share with you the secrets of negotiating, and Roger Dawson is going to talk about what he calls advanced tactics for power negotiating. Here's Tom.
Thank you, Coral. Today we're going to be talking about negotiating, getting what you want while you help others get what they want. Today you're going to be hearing from one of the world's greatest experts on negotiating. I can add a couple of points from my own experiences. Number one, people give concessions to people they like. Confrontational negotiating is possible, but it's much more difficult to get what you want. Also, in confrontational negotiating, the person on the other side is much more willing to walk away because of their emotions. Which brings in point number two. You must be able to walk away from the deal. Being able to walk away gives you a massive advantage in negotiating. Let me give you an example of how when I was 26 years old, I negotiated my way to doubling my salary and becoming the youngest director in a Fortune 500 company. I worked as an analyst for the management consulting arm of one of the largest publishers in the world. My job was to analyze the market, consult with clients, and get my name in the paper as often as possible. My first 2 years working at the firm, my name had appeared in over 200 publications around the world, including the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. I had done my job. Better yet, my competitors knew who I was. Well, it came time for me to negotiate my salary increase. Instead of the 5 to 10% that everybody gets every year, I wanted 200%. I knew that in order to get that kind of increase, I had to be able to walk away from the deal. So I spoke with one of our top competitors, went into interview with them, and told them that I would take nothing less than a certain income, which they had no idea was double my salary. We joked, we laughed, I told them how great it would be to work for them, but that they probably couldn't afford me. Well, they thought that things were going great, and they had an ego, and they said, of course we can afford you. You see, I got them to like me. They were willing to concede because they liked me. And also, I was willing to walk away, and they knew it. I got the job. But it wasn't over. Now, with this new job offer, I went back to my current employer, and I told them that I had been offered a job, and it looked like I was ready to go. Of course, they were in shock. They said, what could possibly be the offer that got you to go? And I showed them the offer, and their jaw dropped. I told them that, listen, there'd be just really one thing that would help me to stay. Two things, actually. One, you'd have to keep the current income that I have from this new offer, doubling my income, essentially. And the second thing is I wanted more responsibility. I wanted to be in charge of Asia. I wanted to be the director of Asian operations. Well, they knew I was willing to go, and they liked me. So they were willing to concede both of those things and keep me on. I essentially, in 1 hour, doubled my income and raised my level of responsibility within the company. Now, it turned out to be great for them, too, because as director of Asian operations, I brought in a boatload of money to the company. Everybody won, and that's the most important thing when you're finishing up a deal. Is it going to be a win-win? If it's not, why even start? There's a lot more to negotiating than those two things, but it's a great start. The more you master this skill, the more you get more of what you want in every area of your life. Here's Coral to introduce you to our expert for today.
Thanks, Tom. Today's expert, Roger Dawson, has a very successful business background, including being president for one of California's largest real estate companies. A full-time speaker since 1982, he is well respected and has trained people around the globe on how to improve profits and increase sales using power negotiating tactics. As he likes to say, you'll never make more money faster than you will when you're negotiating. In this clip, he discusses the second of 3 elements that affect the outcome of a negotiation. Make sure you use this tip to your advantage. Let's check it out.
The next thing I want to talk about that gives you power in dealing with people is time pressure. If you can give yourself all the time in the world in a negotiation, but at the same time convince the other side that they have a limited amount of time in order to resolve this, you develop a tremendous amount of power in dealing with people. There is a Pareto principle that applies here. Pareto was a 19th century Italian economist who was the first person to point out that 80% of the wealth of Italy was in the hands of 20% of the people. And that 80-20 rule seems to work in a lot of other areas too. Sales managers typically tell me 80% of my business is done by 20% of the salespeople. School teachers tell me 80% of the problems is caused by 20% of the children. In time management, we say the problem is we spend 80% of our time doing what gets us 20% of the results. So good time management turns that around and has us spending 80% of our time doing what gets us 80% of the results.